It's Monday, December 2nd. And today I'm just wondering who the next Cowboys head coach will be. I have a very definite idea, and that's next.
Are all financial advisors fiduciaries? Fewer than you think. Not knowing could reduce your lifestyle. Hi, I'm Mitch Kramer, founder and CEO of Fluent Financial. A fiduciary is a regulatory term to reduce conflicts of interest in wealth management. A fiduciary always works in your best interest. A non-fiduciary advisor might put their compensation or company ahead of yours. At Fluent Financial, we are certified financial planners acting as fiduciary advisors. To learn more, go to fluentfinancial.com or Fluent Financial's YouTube channel.
For more than 3 decades, Bob's Steak and Chop House has remained an icon of DFW restaurants. Why? Well, maybe it's because of Bob. He's fanatical about cleanliness and friendliness, and his food, oh my Lord, his food. If you've been there, you know about it. If you haven't been there, you should know about it. The original Bob welcomes you at either of his 2 locations, Bob's on Lemon Avenue or the sparkling new Bob's at Craig Ranch, McKinney.
I don't wish to throw Mike McCarthy under the bus. He's been thrown under the bus so many times this year. He ought to have a Greyhound pass. Jerry, the players at various times, and then, oh no, I didn't mean it, and everything. He doesn't have a contract for next year. I think the Cowboys should be thinking of starting fresh. I don't wish Coach McCarthy any ill will. I think he's a solid football coach, and I think whoever hires him for next year or the year after will get a good, solid head coach in the NFL. Let's get right to it. I know that people have floated the Deion Sanders trial balloon. I will simply say, oh, please, no. Next, Bill Belichick had a magnificent run at New England. But after Tom Brady left, his teams were mediocre to miserable. And he's going to be 73. Now, I'm 80, okay? So this is not age discrimination. But a 73-year-old Bill Belichick working with the 83-year-old Jerry Jones, I just don't see that combination working for very long. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm looking to hire someone who can be my head coach for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. Something in that range. Now, the level of success may dictate changing coaches again, but I'd be looking at that young candidate. Now, everybody's going to jump and say, Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Lions, and you'd be right in making that jump. Teams that have openings this year will be all over Ben Johnson, and I have nothing against him, nothing at all. I don't know if Ben Johnson's going to want to coach against the man he now works for, Dan Campbell, several times over 2 or 3 year periods. I just don't know if he's going to. But while I like Ben Johnson a lot, don't get me wrong. Here's who I'd hire. Joe Brady. And you're thinking, Joe Brady? Okay, let me bring you up to date on Joe Brady. First of all, he's only 35 years old. And he's the offensive coordinator for the rockin' sock'em Buffalo Bills offense. Now, 35, you say, isn't that pretty young to be an NFL head coach? Look at what's in the league right now. The Rams hired Sean McVay at 30 years old. Minnesota hired Kevin O'Connell at 36. Kyle Shanahan was the San Francisco head coach at 38. DeMeco Ryans took over and transformed Houston at 38 years old. Matt LaFleur in Green Bay was 39 when he got the Packer job. And Nick Sirianni, who's coaching the Eagles to heights these days, was 39 when he got the job. And even the patriarch, Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, who's been there forever. Pittsburgh gave him the head coaching job when he was 34. Now, let's go to Joe Brady. Why him? Well, he played at William & Mary. That's not a reason why. He went then to be a graduate assistant at Penn State. And from a graduate assistant at Penn State, he was hired as an offensive assistant with the New Orleans Saints. Now, that's a pretty good jump. And after 2 years with the Saints, LSU hired them as the offensive coordinator. That was in 2019. That's the year LSU went undefeated and won the national championship. And that was the year Joe Burrow was transferred into being a superstar and a huge, huge first pick in the NFL draft. Joe Brady was there. That team that he coordinated averaged 568 yards a game and 48.5 points a game. The world of college football was so impressed that they named Joe Brady the top college football assistant in America. He jumped from there to being the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. In 2020, for only the fifth time in the Super Bowl era, that's 56, 57 years now, the Carolina Panthers had 4 skill players gain 1,000 yards or more. Remember, that was a 16-game schedule also. They had DJ Moore, the wide receiver, Robbie Anderson, the wide receiver, Curtis Samuel, the wide receiver, and Mike Davis, the running back, all have 1,000-yard seasons under Joe Brady's leadership. From there, he jumped to being the quarterback coach in Buffalo for Sean McDermott. And he was to take over the raw but talented Josh Allen. Allen suddenly became an MVP finalist. And Allen's been so good the last 3 years. And Joe Brady has been the guy closest to him. And finally, last season, in the middle of the season, Buffalo, unhappy with their offense, turned the offense over to Joe Brady for the last 7 games of the season. In those 7 games, Buffalo averaged 381 yards a game and 27 points per game. Joe Brady can coach, and whoever hires him is going to make one shrewd hire. Now, who do we hire with him? I think there's a defensive coordinator out there that just begs to be hired, and he'll have a lot of teams after him, and that's Robert Saleh. He was fired earlier this season by that nutso owner of the New York Jets, Woody Johnson. And Saleh is now available in the offseason. When Robert Saleh was coordinating the San Francisco defenses, they were at the top of the league. The man can coach defense. Now, I know you're saying, what about the Jets? Hey, defense was not the Jets' problem. Offense was the Jets' problem. The Jets' defense was stout. Now, the Jets' offense stunk. And that's why Robert Saleh got fired. Now, as far as the rest of the staff, I'd let Joe Brady bring along his number 1 right-hand man for Buffalo if he could do that. And Robert Saleh obviously has coordinated defenses before, so let him pick his staff. Now, I would put in a good word for Matt Eberflus, who was a solid linebackers coach here before taking the Bears head coaching job, from which he's just been fired. And I'd think of one other person and discuss it with Joe Brady to see what he thinks. The Cowboys are a tradition team. They've been a tradition team now for 60 years. How about bringing some of that tradition back? How about bringing a tough guy who really knows the NFL back? How about bringing Jason Witten back into this locker room? Jason Witten has now been a head coach in high school the last couple of years, but Jason Witten is still a name people would respect in that locker room. And I'm going to put this fantasy out there. If Joe Brady's the head coach and Robert Saleh's the defensive coordinator, and maybe Eberflus comes back, maybe Witten joins the staff, well, maybe that'll have an impact on potential free agents coming here. And maybe DeMarcus Lawrence, who's thought to be gone after this year, maybe he could be enticed into signing a one-year contract to come back. And maybe even Zach Martin. Hey, building a Cowboy contender again starts with building a coaching staff who can build a contender. Next, I'll have a comment on one of those critical college football games from this past weekend.
Once again, on December 26th, on radio station The Ticket, I'll anchor the all-day broadcast of the CrestCars.com Normathon, benefiting the Austin Street Center for the Homeless. The centerpiece of all previous 23 Normathons has been the car raffle, and Crest this year has provided us 3 spectacular brand new cars, a Cadillac, an Infiniti, and a Volvo. To try to win one of them, you buy the tickets at $100 each. We will sell no more than 4,500. We will draw the winners on the air live the night of the Normathon at 7:10 p.m. Get your tickets by using your credit card. It's easy and it's safe. Go to the website www.austinstreet.org and then click on Normathon. Hurry! Tickets for the Crest Car Raffle sell out early every year. 3 gorgeous Crest vehicles are available. Get your raffle tickets at www.austinstreet.org and then click on Normathon.
Okay, I watched every second of the Texas A&M game Saturday night. I even sat through about 17 or 18 minutes of pregame, and I can tell you this, I watched this telecast so closely, I can tell you that Matthew McConaughey got 4 shots. 4 different shots of Matthew McConaughey during the telecast. Anyway, let's go on to the game itself. Texas won the game 17-7. The winner of that game was to go to the SEC championship game to play Georgia. You know, Aggie fans after that defeat have to be so incredibly distraught. I'll bet you a lot of them think they should have won. Hey, before kickoff, if you'd have told Aggie fans their defense would hold Texas to 17 points and the defense would score a touchdown of its own on a pick-6 interception, Aggie fans would have been delirious at that thought. And toss in the fact that they blocked a punt that set them up inside the Texas 20-yard line. But the Aggie offense sucked. I mean, it sucked. Texas's defensive line is better than the Texas A&M offensive line. That's not just my opinion. I think the general opinion about the two teams when they met was that the Texas defensive line was better than the Aggie offensive line. And yet, the Aggie game plan seemed to be to bang away, running straight ahead into that brick wall of a Texas defensive line. They did it over and over and over and over again. With a 4th and 1 just outside the Texas 10-yard line in the first half, the Aggies decided, well, why not just run another straight-ahead run into that brick wall? And they turned the ball over on downs. The Texas offense had about as much creativity as a rock. I kept thinking, well, the Aggies in the first half ran all this straight-ahead stuff, but it's going to set up play action in the second half, reverses, things like that. I was wrong. They came out in the second half and just banged away straight ahead. And the offense got nothing for the entire night. And it culminated with, maybe 5 minutes left in the game. After that block punt, A&M got to the Texas 1-yard line. Well, they actually got to the 2-yard line. And on third down, they called a run straight ahead by a kid named Daniels. Now, he's not bad, but he isn't their star, and he wasn't their starter. He's an okay running back, but that's all he is. So, on third down, where that play gained them maybe 2 feet, they faced 4th down and goal at the Texas 1. What play did A&M cook up? Well, the quarterback Reed went under center, took the snap, ran back to the running back, handed him the ball. He then ran straight ahead toward the Texas line, but by the time he got to the 4, he was being slammed. I try not to get on coaches because their job's a hard one, and beating Texas would have been a hard one. But when you watched that game, you realized a little creativity could have had A&M right in the thick of that game. I'm sure Aggie fans are upset about this, and they have a right to be. But you know what? When the Aggie players and coaching staff go back and look at the game films of this loss to Texas, they're going to puke.
Today's episode brought to you by Fluent Financial. Retire sooner, better lifestyle. And by Crest Cars. There's good, there's better, and then there's Crest. And by Bob's Steak and Chop House.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Just Wondering with Norm Hitzges. If you enjoyed what you heard, please hit follow, and a fresh new episode will be delivered to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you know someone who might enjoy our work, please share it with them. I'm Norm Hitzges, and I'm always just wondering about something.
And I'm Mary Hitchkus, and I'm just wondering too.